reside, cracking codes to flip the tide. Zeros and ones on battle cry. System fall, we watch them die. Hack-Attack, no turning back. Red meets blue in the cyber attack. Firewall burns, the signals cracked. Hack-Attack, yeah.
Alright, gloves off. Welcome back to Hak-Attack, where I dissect the so-called mystique around the dark web and show you what's really under the hood. I'm your perennial headache, Zealot-45, and let's get one thing straight. The dark web isn't some neon halfway house for freedom fighters and digital Robin Hoods. Don't buy the movie hype. This beast is basically the internet's alleyway. No streetlights, nobody cares if you trip and faceplant. So here's the map. You've got the surface web, everything you Google, binge, doom scroll. Underneath, the deep web, which isn't even shady, it's just password-protected stuff like your bank portal or that abandoned blog you forgot. But then slide deeper into the shadow, where you need Tor, I2P, or Freenet just to peer in. That's your dark web. Hidden services, .onion addresses, they're not Googleable. You copy-paste links off sketchy forums and pray you don't get rickrolled by malware. People love to call it a privacy paradise. In reality, it's a decentralized bazaar overflowing with stolen logins, malware for rent, fake IDs, knockoff merch, and yeah, stuff that can land you on an FBI spreadsheet. The trust down here, less real than a startup's launch date. Every vendor review could be a sock puppet. Every hackers only invite a honey trap. I'll never forget my first real lesson chasing some PGP key on an old forum, thinking I'd cracked the code. Turns out it was a straight up trap. The key checked out, signatures looked solid, but the messages, gone. Locked me in a loop tighter than a payphone wire, and by the time I figured it out, my VM was toast. You only gotta choke on digital smoke once to learn. But why does the myth of the anonymous haven stick? Here's my take. It sells. Mainstream media loves the shadow world of hackers angle, and there's kernel of truth stranded in a swamp of scams. Sure, activists use it, a few whistleblowers, most traffic, people looking to buy, sell, or get burnt. It's not utopia, it's just another corner of the net. Only the street signs are written in base 58, and failure's always one click away. Now, let's follow that alley a bit further, because the actual tech behind it, that's where things get spicy. You ever notice how every shadow city has its own dialect? The dark web is no different. It's split across Tor, I2P, and Freenet. Think of these as rival neighborhoods, each with their own unwritten rules, pointless drama, and dangerous shortcuts. Tor, the onion router. This is your gateway drug, the entry point for most first-timers. You fire up Tor browser, pile your traffic through layers of encryption, and each hop keeps you further from whoever's trying to trace you. It's wild how Tor was built by the US Navy. Yep, that's a thing. So intelligence could have a private line, and now it's an open bazaar. Tor's strengths, accessibility, active development, tons of hidden services. But those exit nodes, that's the leaky faucet. Every regular site you hit, someone could be sniffing your exit traffic. Plus, just using Tor in some places is enough to paint a target on your digital back. Now, I2P in an invisible internet project is like the tunnel network underneath the city. Not for tourists, it's less about browsing Reddit clones and more about messaging, P2P, and keeping everything truly off-grid. Garlic routing, in Eep sites, everything tunneled and internal. Freenet, on the other hand, is straight-up archival. Think of it as the library in the catacombs. Distributed storage. Nobody controls the full data store, so true censorship resistance. You upload encrypted chunks. They persist whether you want them to or not. Drawback? Slow as molasses, limited interactivity, and the user base is basically digital librarians and seasoned paranoids. I've seen people in Wormtown, back in my glitchy youth, try to walk into these places like they were all the same, only to wind up in the wrong kind of dragnet. Law enforcement runs stings on Tor, sure, but even mucking around on I2P or Freenet can get you burned, if you don't know the lay of the land. Each protocol has its own flavor of OPSEC failure, its own breadcrumbs that'll get you caught up. So before you think about crossing that boundary, learn which city map you're holding. Next up, the bad actors who make these streets dangerous in the first place. Welcome to the headliner, scams, malware, and the never-ending improv performance that is the dark web's black market. This is where you find out buyer beware isn't a suggestion, it's survival instinct. You've got files, leaked PDFs, privacy toolkits, modified browser installs that are little more than snare drums packed with Trojans and spyware. Click the wrong zip and suddenly you're the proud host of a remote access Trojan, or worse, some dormant ransomware just waiting for you to log in to your hot wallet. I'm talking about malware strains that specifically hunt for anonymity tools. One JavaScript flub, one lazy Tor config, and your IP is cooked. And phishing? Oh, you haven't lived until you see a vendor pretending to be trusted on a market, logically flawless, complete with copy-pasted reviews, or the classic escrow scam. Buyer sends Bitcoin, admin bolts, reviews vanish, you get nothing. There's no returns department. Even trust mechanisms get gamed. Verified, sellers, reputation scores, sock puppets, all of them. Some red teamers spot honeypots by the weird meta, sites with just enough security holes to look legit, but the real hook? Data logs that accidentally grab your username or wallet. Exit node exploitation? That's an old favorite, especially if you're new and browsing ClearNet sites through Tor. Every non-HTTPS site is a buffet for packet sniffers lurking on those public relays. DNS queries, pop-up injects, clipboard hijacking, the whole circus. 1 minute you're transferring Monero, the next, your address gets replaced, and your funds walk out the digital door. Here's the takeaway. On the dark web, trust is worth less than a dead Bitcoin fork. Vendors disappear, admins run exit scams, privacy tools bite you harder than the junk you were trying to dodge. The only real advantage is skepticism tested by fire. If you're not dangling a string of honeypot flags off your profile, you're already someone's mark. Which brings us to the real strip search, how law enforcement and bad OPSEC crack open your precious shield of anonymity. Here's the part where arrogance meets the brick wall. Think you're invisible on the dark web? Law enforcement, rival hackers, every data broker, they've got tools built to spot the cracks. Agencies have gotten surgical, hosting fake sites, logging everyone who dares log in, running relays, timing traffic, triangulating exits. Some of the best stings, undercover vendors dealing out poison goods, then tracing the crypto, the Alphabet and Silk Road busts. Textbook. If you think a handle and a burner email protect you, think again. Your anonymous persona is leaking more than you know. And OPSEC failures? Ha! Everybody trips, especially the confident ones. You log in with the same username or avatar as your old gaming days. You post a screenshot with untouched XIF data. You copy-paste your real language ticks straight into the forums. Unique typing styles. Yes, that's a fingerprint. Wallet addresses reused across multiple markets. Boom, you've built an evidence trail wider than your Tor circuit. I had a friend once, hustling gig work on the side, determined to stay squeaky clean, used a throwaway handle, kept the VPN lit until their anonymous account got matched to an old credential dump in a leak on some market. Got called in by their gig boss the next day. It's always the innocent-seeming slip, typo, language quirk, same email with a different dot. That's all it takes. Why do even pros mess up? Exhaustion, ego, or just one too many sleepless nights? There's no mercy. You trip, you fall. So ask yourself, how many breadcrumbs are you leaving behind every time you jump the digital fence? Let's talk real consequences next. The price tags that don't show up until your screen goes black or the feds bang on your door. Alright, time for the ice bath. If you think the worst you face is a wiped wallet or a little embarrassment, think bigger. The dark web's real price gets paid in court dates, sleepless nights, and scars you don't see until years later. Criminal exposure is obvious. Get caught visiting the wrong marketplace even out of curiosity, and you could face investigation or charges if your IP ever gets logged during a raid. One accidental click, now you're in a folder somewhere at HQ. Blackmail's another favorite. We have your chat logs, pay up, or we dox you and your job finds out. Sometimes it's an empty bluff. Sometimes they've got the receipts, screenshots, emails, even logs scraped by malware you didn't know you downloaded. The psychological angle gets overlooked. Disturbing content isn't always flagged. Click the wrong link and you end up staring at the kind of stuff that'll haunt you straight past any cloak of anonymity. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that trauma's not reversible. I've seen rookies get, exposed to, grotesque stuff on autoplay. They didn't sleep for weeks, started questioning everything. If you're not ready for the mental tripwire, don't even hover near the edge. The Silk Road takedown is a classic warning. Feds played the game, sold, logged, traced deliveries, watched the cash move, documented the minute someone slipped up. Same with Alphabet and every other big bust. If you want skills, build your own lab, spin up VMs, attack your own configs, log your exploits on private wikis. Don't play Russian roulette with your whole future for a cheap adrenaline hit. Curiosity is not a sin, but carelessness, that'll cost you everything. Don't mistake fantasy for fact. If you want to harden your mind and your stack, stay tuned. Next round, we're cracking open bulletproof hosting, those ghost servers that thumb their nose at takedown requests. Until then, check your firewall, check your ego, and never take digital legend at face value. Hak-Attack signing out.
Distant whispers, a data stream, codes the canvas, paint the scheme. We're the ghosts inside the machine. Nothing's safe, not even your dream.